I did monk mode for 6 months. I finished it 2 days ago. It was a wild journey. In this video, I'm just going to discuss what I did, what I accomplished, the pros and the cons, and what I'm keeping from monk mode going forward. So first of all, what did I actually do? What was I required to do for this 6-month period of monk mode? First things first, and the biggest one was no online entertainment. So I basically had to remove all forms of online entertainment by myself. So I couldn't scroll social media. There's no playing video games, no watching TV shows or movies, no watching sports, no keeping up with politics or current affairs. I basically had to shut out all forms of online entertainment, all ways of receiving cheap dopamine, basically without having to do anything. Second big one was daily exercise. So I had to do some sort of physical activity every single day without fail, which was quite a big one. I also had to eat clean. So I had to eat basically 80% of my calories from whole foods, try and eat as cleanly as possible. And finally, just minimal drinking. I had to basically cut down my drinking to almost zero. So that's what the monk mode protocol was for the 6 months. What did I achieve in this period? So what did I achieve from 6 months on monk mode? First massive one is I ran a marathon. Coming into this year, I hadn't run more than 10 kilometers in my entire life. When I entered monk mode, I was thinking I was just going to lift weights every day. That's how I was going to get my physical activity in. But then I kind of realized, well, this is not really actually optimal for hypertrophy. I may as well throw some sort of other physical activity in. So I started doing cardio in the form of running. And then after I was, running 3-4 days a week, I thought, well, damn, why don't I just try and run a marathon? And I progressed it pretty quick. I got a injury from basically overstretching, like going too far for the running. So that knocked me back to basically only being able to run about 1 kilometer a day or per run for about 2 months. But then after that, I was like, all right, let's go all in. We've got 6 weeks left of monk mode. Let me try and get a marathon done. So I went all out on the marathon training and I was able to run a marathon, which I didn't think I would ever do. Coming into this year, coming into before monk mode, I didn't think I was ever going to run a marathon, but we ran a marathon, which is just, I wasn't expecting to do that, which was a pretty cool accomplishment. I actually made a whole video about how I ran from 0 to marathon in 6 weeks. I'll leave a card up here somewhere. You can check that out. That's quite a cool video. That was a serious journey. That was the hardest thing I've ever done, and it was a really, really fulfilling thing to achieve. Second one was 100 kilo bench press. So I've been gymming for 6 years, pretty much 6 years. I've always wanted to bench press 100 kilos. I haven't been able to. I seem to be quite strong in all these other lifts, but bench press is the one that's always been quite limiting for me. I attempted 100 kilos last year, could barely move the bar. This year coming in, I was able to get it done on the last day, on the same day as the marathon actually. And it's quite cool because whilst I bench pressed 100 kilos, which I couldn't do last year, I was also 10 kilos lighter. I weighed 10 kilos less than I did last year, which is pretty cool. So as you can tell there, I also got in pretty good shape. So I am in the best shape of my entire life. Helps when you're eating really clean, you're sleeping properly, and of course you're exercising every day. So I also got in the best shape of my life, which is another great pro. Another one was having a 90 sleep score. So I basically averaged like a 90 sleep score for the best part of this monk mode period, which is great. Having really good sleep has really helped me out. Gave me so much energy, gave me just more mental clarity, ability to actually put effort into tasks on a daily basis. Getting good sleep was an eye-opener for me. I was like, wow, this is like a superpower. This is like a cheat code. Getting really good sleep was really fantastic. And the fact that I wasn't drinking as much, I used to drink quite a lot, not like an alcoholic thing. I was just very social and I basically cut down my drinking a lot. That helped a lot with the sleep. Also not having big nights out, being a bit more diligent with it really, really helped out. So definitely improved the quality of my sleep. I noticed that I just had really, really great focus and ability to just concentrate on tasks and not have my mind wandering. I basically put this down to no online entertainment. I think that was almost exclusively the reason, because you're not constantly getting this cheap dopamine, because you're not having your attention pulled in 50 different ways, and because you're not basically training a short attention span. You actually just get better attention, better focus. And finally, I've been consistently posting on YouTube. So one of the big things I wanted to do this year was try to post 3 YouTube videos every single week. And since going on monk mode, since starting YouTube, I've kept with that. I've kept posting 3 videos every week. I'm going to keep doing it. But that's a really big one because that was something I wanted to do this year. That's really something that I've been focusing on, and being able to do that and be really consistent with it is great. It helps that I had great focus and attention. It helps that I had a whole lot of time back from removing the online entertainment, and the fact that I had good sleep as well. Just all of these factors just really helped bring it together. So in terms of my accomplishments, to summarize that, I had better focus and attention. I ran a marathon, which I wasn't expecting. Bench press 100 kilos, which is a big accomplishment for me. In the best shape of my life. Posting consistently on YouTube, which is a big one for me. So quite a lot of accomplishments in the 6-month period of monk mode. Real quick, if you would like to get into peak performance, I've left no stone unturned to giving you everything that you could possibly need, including an entire course on how to remove online entertainment, online distractions. If that is at all interesting to you, I'll leave a link in the description below. All right, let's cover the pros and the cons. We'll start with the pros. What were the good things? What were the pros that I got out of the monk mode? First one, biggest one, removing online entertainment. This was the best thing that came out of monk mode by an absolute mile. This was a total game changer. Not only did I just save a crazy amount of time, I had way better focus. I didn't have this little hum of anxiety and worrying about other people's lives and, not comparing and meeting up to other people's standards. I was very much focused on myself, and removing the online entertainment, that has been just a total life changer for me. So that was the biggest pro that came from monk mode. Next one was not going out as much, not drinking as much. I used to be someone who went out a lot. I used to drink a lot back in the uni days. Not doing that as much, just not having those monster nights where you're out till 4 a.m. super hungover. It really helps out, because if you're doing those things, not only is it, a big time out of your day, but you basically just ruined an entire day. Like that next day after, that hangover, just shocking. You're not getting anything done for that day. Most likely you're going to sleep in, which is going to throw off your sleep schedule for the next day. So it's really like at least one, but more like 2 days where you've just kind of, at least you're not performing at 100%. The first day after a big night, you're performing at like 10%. And the second day, you're probably only operating about 60%. So not having those big nights all the time definitely just helped me become way more productive. Just actually do the things that I've set out to do and I was supposed to do. That was a huge one. I think for me, just not having the massive nights really just helped me just stay on track and just consistently build up good days consecutively, rather than having 4 or 5 good days and then getting to the weekend having a rager and then the next day kind of feeling like crap, not doing anything, and the day after that you're kind of trying to kick back into gear, and then you start all over again, have 5 good days, and then so yeah, definitely not going out as much has helped with, productivity and just getting stuff done. Next pro was just getting in great shape. I mean, the fact that you have to eat clean and you have to exercise every day and you're not drinking as much, just by default, you're just going to get in good shape. Like that is not really surprising at all. I was definitely expecting that, but that's definitely a pro that comes from that. I'm in the best shape of my life. I just ran a marathon because I thought it would be a cool side quest and I had to get exercise in, and been good for my lifting as well. I've got, lifting PRs. So overall, just of course going to be great for getting you in shape. Next pro, which I wasn't expecting, was just taking on challenges that I wouldn't have taken on otherwise. The fact you have a lot of time back because you're not spending time on the online distractions, online entertainment, gives you a lot of time back. And the fact that you don't have the short attention span, you're not impulsive, you're not hungover, you just think, well, I've got a lot of time back and a lot of time that I'm actually feeling good and feeling productive. Then you just take on challenges. You just think, okay, well, maybe I could run a marathon. Maybe I could learn Spanish, which is another thing that I've started to do, just because I thought, well, look, I have all this time, I'll have all this focus. What is a thing that I could do that I would feel would be a very fulfilling and meaningful thing to do? And you start taking on challenges than you would have otherwise. So running the marathon, fantastic example of doing that. Would not have even thought of doing that if I hadn't have done monk mode. Learning Spanish, I thought, man, maybe that's something I'll do when I go live in a South America or Spanish-speaking country. Just took it on, just thought, okay, well, why don't we just get this done now? Why don't I just run a marathon now? Why don't I just start learning Spanish now? You just take on challenges that you wouldn't have really done otherwise. The last one is I just became more ambitious, which is really cool. I just became a more ambitious person. When I thought about the goals that I was setting for myself, when I look at the start of this monk mode period, I definitely had ambitious goals. I'm an ambitious person naturally, or I don't even know if it's naturally, but I've just become an ambitious person. But as I progressed through this monk mode journey, I've become more ambitious. The goals that I'm setting are bigger. And it's not as if it's a, delusional ambition. I mean, I ran the marathon with basically 6 weeks of training. Yes, it was ambitious, but is it delusional? Well, I did it, so possibly not. Continuously setting bigger and more ambitious goals, and then because you have the time, because you have the focus, and because you have the discipline, you actually put into action the goals that you set for yourself. They start to come true. And because you're creating bigger goals, because you become more ambitious, the things you accomplish just get bigger. So I also wasn't expecting to become more ambitious, but that was a great positive that came from monk mode. So those were the pros, quite a lot of pros that I got from this 6 months of monk mode. What were some of the cons? What were some of the negatives that I found from this 6 months of monk mode? First big one was my social life was not where it used to be. I mean, my social life was, quite a lot before. A few years ago, I was going out 3 nights a week, basically. I was socializing a lot, probably more than you should have, but I was spending a whole lot of time socializing. And when you no longer, drink as much, when you no longer really are doing any of these degenerate activities, you start having less reasons to socialize with other people. You don't go out as much, you don't meet people as much. It's a little bit more isolating. It's really good because I have quite a few friends that are kind of also in this, grind phase where we all get to do things together that are not this sort of, having fun, going out drinking kind of thing. So, you have friends that you go to the gym with and you do runs with and you play chess with and whatever. But you definitely don't spend as much time going out and drinking, socializing with people. It's a little bit more isolating. And I definitely think social life or your social life is definitely a big bucket. It's a big part of your life. And I think if you spend too much time in these periods where you're just super isolated, it's not a very smart idea. It's good to have somewhat of a balance in your life. Now, balance doesn't mean that you spend a lot of time doing nothing and you spend a lot of time doing stuff and it's balanced that way. It just means you want to fill up the buckets as much as possible, right? You want to fill up your health. You want to fill up your wealth. You want to fill up your relationships. But if you're just spending all your time on your health and your wealth and you're not really caring about your relationships, that's not really balanced. So definitely not so balanced when it comes to actually satisfying a social life or socializing properly. Now, I probably could have done this better, right? I probably could have centered more social activities around more monk mode friendly endeavors. So that's partially on me. I was just spending a lot of time very tunnel visioned on my goals and what I was trying to accomplish. So I think you definitely could do this and be fulfilling more of that social aspect. But for me, what I experienced in these 6 months was I was a little bit more socially isolated. Next con is daily exercise. This is not really necessary for most people's goals. I mean, when I thought about what my goals were going into monk mode, all I really cared about was, trying to get a better physique and get a bit stronger in the gym. Realistically, you only need about 3 or 4 days in the gym to actually be optimal, really. So there's not a whole lot of necessity for that extra 3 or 4 days of training. And what happens is I was doing a lot of days in the gym and I thought, well, this is too much. This is not actually supporting any, muscle growth or strength gains. I actually need to rest and recover. So I started throwing in running. And then that was great because I now pursue this whole other side quest of running marathons. But if you're just someone who's trying to get in better shape, you don't really need to work out 7 days a week. And that is quite time-consuming thing to do. If you're working out every single day because you have to, because you're in monk mode, it's somewhat counterproductive, okay? Unless your goal is, you want to run the marathons and you want to be in incredible shape and you want to do these things. Sure, it makes sense, but I don't think you should make it a requirement on yourself to exercise or work out every single day. Lastly, in terms of the cons, I feel like monk mode or the idea of monk mode, when most people do it, they're obsessing over perfection. You're trying to become as perfect as possible. And for me, what I've noticed forever for everything is that consistency beats perfection, optimizing every day of the week. If you're constantly trying to make something perfect and optimize it, all that's going to happen is you're going to create something, some dogmatic, rigid routine that you can stick to for a few weeks or maybe a month, but then you fall off the bandwagon and you stop. Now, for a lot of people, how many people are doing monk mode for 6 months? Not very many, okay? 6 months was quite a long time, and I was able to do this because I'd actually built up a lot of areas of my life that were similar to what people would call monk mode before actually starting this thing. But if you're just someone going from regular life, just, scrolling all day, not really exercising much, not eating that well, to all in on monk mode, you're basically trying to achieve perfection when you haven't actually got the reps in, and you're basically building a house of cards that's going to collapse, and you're probably not going to be able to stick to it. And if there's just a few things that you did and you were just consistent and stuck to it, you get much better results than trying to become perfect and then just falling off. So definitely a con for monk mode is trying to focus on perfection rather than consistency. So what am I keeping? What from monk mode is staying in my life? What am I booting out? Things that I'm keeping, first of all, no online entertainment. Total game changer. Absolutely love this one. Not paying attention to politics, not paying attention to social media, not gaming, not doing any of these cheap dopamine activities. Total game changer. Absolutely gonna keep that. That one is probably one of the more intense parts of monk mode, but I actually think probably the most fulfilling, the most meaningful, makes the biggest impact on your life. So 100% not going to get rid of removing all online entertainment. I will use online entertainment if I'm doing it with someone else. So if, for example, if people come around and we're going to watch a sports game, I'm not going to just go, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. That's online entertainment. Like if it's in a social scenario, then sure, I'll, watch a movie with friends if that's what they're all doing, or watch a sports game. But if I'm by myself, I'm never scrolling. I'm never playing video games. I'm never watching something. I'm never paying attention to politics or any of these things. So I'm definitely going to keep the no online entertainment. That was a massive one. Next thing I'm keeping is drinking less. I'm going to drink more than I did when I was in monk mode, which was basically zero. But I'm not going to drink as much as I used to. What I noticed from this period of not drinking at all is that you can basically have 80% of it as good of a night, just leaving it about 12, having a few drinks, not a huge amount. The difference between staying up till 4 a.m. and getting absolutely hammered and then staying up till, midnight and getting pretty drunk is not that much difference in enjoyment, but a huge difference in what it's doing to your body. Not only are you just absolutely slamming a shit ton of alcohol, which is going to make you feel horrendous the next day, probably going to add a bunch of calories into your system. You're basically poisoning yourself, but it doesn't improve the night that much. It's debatable whether it even improves the night at all. So definitely reducing the amount I'm drinking, or at least when I'm drinking, not getting absolutely hammered. Definitely something that I'm going to add. Eating clean. Now, to be honest, I always ate pretty clean. Like my diet was always pretty on point. The only thing that really held me back was getting absolutely hammered. So my diet's always been pretty good, but I'm trying to make sure that the diet is still at that level, which is just very, very high. I have the occasional cheat days, which is always planned, and I always adjust the calories accordingly. So everything that is cheating, it's all planned. It's not really cheating. It's kind of just a part of what you're doing. For example, after I ran the marathon, we go, all right, well, we've probably burned about 7,000 calories for the day. Good luck trying to eat 7,000 calories worth of food. That might be a great time to throw in some sort of cheat meal, have a bit of fun with the food. I'm going to stay very, very strict, as I kind of always am with the food. I just noticed that it makes a big difference in terms of not only how I perform in the gym, but also just feeling good, having stable energy levels, having good digestion, just feeling overall pretty well. Food is something that you enjoy the taste of for, 20 minutes a day, okay? But the difference in terms of how you feel if you just ate something slightly less tasty is big in terms of how you feel over the course of the day. So I'm probably going to, I am going to continue to be very strict on the food. And then in terms of exercise, I'm going to keep exercising daily, but that's not because I have to, it's because I want to. Now that I am quite enjoying the running and I want to keep pursuing the side quest of running marathons, I'm going to probably be doing some sort of cardio activity every day. I'm still going to be gymming 3 or 4 days a week. So I would just unintentionally be exercising every day, right? It's not as if I'm planning to exercise every day because I have to, but I just am because it's the things I want to accomplish require me to be exercising every day. Not something that I would have in the routine just because you have to. But that is what I'm keeping. When I think about what I'm taking out, it's not really that much. I guess I'm going to be, socializing a bit more and maybe drinking a bit more alcohol. So I guess I'm technically going to still be sort of in monk mode, but not officially. I'm not saying I'm in monk mode. That is the end of this 6-month journey. Living your life somewhat similar to the concepts of monk mode in terms of removing the online entertainment, in terms of eating well, trying to exercise quite regularly. It's going to be good for your life. Like most of the achievements and accomplishments that you're going to get are going to be supported by doing something like monk mode. I don't like how rigid and dogmatic it can be into making you try to be perfect, but a lot of the concepts are very valuable and you probably should try and add some to your life. But that is my experience from 6 months of monk mode. I'm technically stopping, although I'm not really subtracting that much in terms of the monk mode. Let me know what you think. If you maybe are someone who's done monk mode before, that'd be interesting to hear about. If you like the video, then like it, subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's probably a video somewhere around here that you might be interested in. So I will see you in one of those.